And we're rolling. Welcome to the Grease Stain Cinema, where we like our popcorn greasy and we like our movies sleazy. I am your greasy host, Clint, and I'm joined here tonight with a very special guest for a very special occasion. We're talking to one Mr. Justin Martin. How you doing tonight, man?
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Clint. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're having a good day. Mine was pretty good.
Well, I worked, so I guess it's as good as it can be. I made money today, so hey, right?
Yeah. Hey, strange. I did the same thing.
What a small world.
Yeah. So, for the purposes of marketing this show, I'm going to use your middle initial.
Yes.
I'm
Okay.
sure for the same reason that you do, I'm sure. If you just search Justin Martin, you get a lot of people that are not you.
Yeah, I know. And actually, one of my films recently that went out on Screenbox and all these different streaming sites, if you were to look at the cast list on the streaming apps, there's going to be a completely different Justin Martin that pops up. And I'm like, how do I fix that? So
Right.
I get it. Yeah, it's very odd.
No, it wasn't me. It was the one-armed man.
Now, can you guess what the P stands for?
Well, I was gonna guess like a more traditional name, like Paul or Peter. Okay, Paul. Okay,
first
awesome.
one, yeah. Three
That's
first
great.
names. Yeah.
So, I mean, for all I know, you could have a YouTube channel and you search Justin Martin and you just get 14 kids who like to stream video games online. So, like, I did look. I didn't come up with a lot as far as that. I did find couple of interesting things. I think maybe I'll talk about then.
Okay. Hopefully not anything too crazy because I do have a past. So let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. And I apologize if it feels like I'm jumping around, but I really feel like I got to start with this.
Okay.
We briefly met.
Yeah.
About 2 or 3 years ago at a little con. Well, not a little con, but it's in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, called Creature Feature.
Yes.
Now, the circumstances of that were interesting. I'm pretty sure you were promoting Shriek Show at the time because you were wearing a shirt that just said, "Pretend that I'm a banana."
Yeah. I still have that shirt in my trunk. Yeah. Yep.
So we didn't see you in the con. We saw you in the bar. My former co-host from my very first podcast had to take a picture with you, and I told him he had to take a picture with you because our friends would find it hilarious. And then we told you a very ridiculous banana story. And that was the entire reason why we needed the picture. Not to rehash a boring story that is incredibly stupid, but
no, it's how we first met. And honestly, I didn't know if you would remember that. I remember it. Clint. I did.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
Like, do you remember the banana? Probably not. I guess it made a lasting impression, right? I wasn't rotted. I must have been fresh.
Yeah, exactly. So for the people watching at home, my silly friend took a banana off of a table at a con from a celebrity. No idea why he did that. He stuck it in his pocket, and after getting incredibly drunk later on, he sat down on the banana and it exploded in his pocket. So This was the story we told you. It's incredibly stupid, and I figured for that reason alone you would remember it.
Yeah. Who doesn't like things exploding in their pocket? I mean,
of course. So I brought it up with Shriek Show. Was that your first time working with Brad Twigg?
Yes and no. Yeah, so that was my first Fuzzy Monkey Productions film. Yes.
Okay.
I had just met Brad about maybe a year or 2 years before, where he was working the cameras and sound and audio for another production, The Mountaineer, that I was in. And that was my first time actually meeting Brad on set for The Mountaineer. But coincidentally, after we filmed that film, while we were on set, he came up to me and offered me a part in Shriek Show. So I had never known about Brad or Fuzzy Monkey prior to. I actually really wasn't involved in independent horror back then. I was
Okay.
more in television, doing like docu-series, reality shows, and then crime series reenactment, which is fun, but you don't have any speaking lines. You're just reenacting a crime. So I've done a
Yeah.
lot of those. But it was my first time doing independent horror film. So I was like, all right. And Shriek Show was my first Fuzzy Monkey. Brad popped that cherry. So
That's cool. What was it like? What was it like playing a banana?
oh, so much fun. Very appealing.
Ah!
So one thing about me is I'm very stupid, silly.
Hmm.
So on set of Shriek Show, I'm sure they got tired of me. They seem to laugh, but maybe they're just like, haha. But the whole time I'm doing these puns left and right about, a banana, because literally I was in a banana costume.
That's right.
Actually, I have Shriek Show DVD with me. Not that it's easy to see, but for those of you who haven't seen the cover, I'm right there in a little banana costume in front of the entrance. That's the back of me, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So a full-blown banana outfit, the entire movie, couldn't even take it off to like the very end. And I was kind of miserable. It was fun, but it was the worst costume. Everyone else had like a normal costume, and I was dressed in a full-blown banana.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what the hell? I couldn't run. I could barely walk. It was just awkward.
Yeah. I think you might have had a banana pun or two in the movie. I think I
did.
remember you saying something about having to split.
Yes. And all those were improv moments, not in the script.
Nice.
Okay, we've got better things to do. And I've got a split.
I love when those moments make it to the final edit.
Me too.
Yeah.
It gives it a lot of character. Your chance to put a personal touch on a performance. I like that.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of fun.
Yeah. So you're from the DC area?
I am. DMV, homebound for me. So I was born and raised in DC, grew up in the Maryland area that borderlines the DC area too. For most all of my life. I mean, I lived in Michigan for a couple years, but Michigan is Michigan. Nobody really talks about it, right? So, so most of my life. Now I think we may live somewhat close to each other. I live in PA now.
Oh, okay.
I just moved here 2 years ago in York.
York. Oh my God, that's like an hour away.
Yeah, I'm in York, and everyone's like, York, New York. I'm like, calm down. I wish. No, it's nobody knows what I'm talking about when I go back to DC or Maryland and I say I'm in York. They're like, where the hell are you?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in the middle of no man's land, pretty much.
Yeah. I live in a tiny little fruit picking community called York Springs. Which is maybe 12 miles north of Hanover, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I work in Hanover. Yeah.
So you're close to Daniel, who's a part of Fuzzy Monkey Productions as well. He lives in Hanover. So
I've heard that. I've looked for him. I've not found him yet.
Well, you guys are right there. Yeah.
That's really cool. And I did find out that you've spent a long time in banking and finance. Is that what's still paying the bills?
It sure does. So it's got me this glorious room that I'm sitting in. It does. And when I say it pays the bills, I mean it really pays the bills.
It's good.
Oh, it's great. I've been doing it for, I don't want to age myself here, guys, but I've been doing it for 17 years, maybe almost 18. Okay. Don't count. Just don't count. But it's been a long journey. I made it to a vice president at my bank. So I'm VP status. I've worked from the bottom all the way up. Literally, it took that long. But you know what? I'm happy where I am. And the good thing about being in the industry so long is it allows flexibility. So I can do filming and movies and such on my schedule when I want to. Yeah. Now, the problem with that is, I only get like 6 weeks of vacation a year. So I have to pick and choose my projects.
Right.
So it's kind of a good, like a win-win, but then I'm limited. So yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's nice. That's awesome that you've gone all the way up to through the ranks like that. And you have that type of flexibility that you can, participate in indie films, whether the project pays or not. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. Yeah. Some of them won't. And you know what? I'm like, you know what? I make money. Whether I'm at work right now,
Yeah.
I'm making probably more than I'll get paid for an independent film anyway. So I don't mind. You know what I mean?
That's right. Don't have to be a starving artist. You can say, I believe in this project. I want to do it regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
I may be hungry, but I'm not starving.
That's right. That's right. And I also discovered that you spent some time in modeling in your past.
I have. Yeah. That's how I started, I think, in entertainment overall. Yeah.
Okay.
When I was early 20s, I don't know what made me want to get into it, but I just said, I want to be a whore. So, well, I'm kind of kidding, but I'm kind of not. I've done a lot of things in my past. I'll say that.
Boo, you whore.
But as far as modeling is concerned, yeah, I started with like local companies, designers, artists here in the DC, Maryland, New York area. A couple of different companies primarily that were selling different garments and stuff. And we would do runway fashion shows and print modeling. So like catalog modeling and stuff. I started off doing that when I was, I think, 22. And then did a couple ads for Hugo Boss, American Eagle. I did one advertisement for, those were more local advertisements. So on local websites. And then I think they had one poster posted up within one of the locations, but I don't think it hit across the entire US, unfortunately, which is what I was aiming for. Right. But anyhow, I did work with some pretty big companies, and then I got hired to be a modeling teacher. So I actually coached modeling classes to what I call my students for 5 years. And we were based out of DC, and we would go back and forth to like New York, Atlanta sometimes, but we were based in Washington, D.C. downtown. And yeah, I was with them for 5 years. I taught how to walk on the runway. I taught how to do appropriate poses for different photo shoots, modeling etiquette 101, a whole slew of different workshops that we had. It was a lot of fun. That was like my prime time in life.
Nice.
Yeah, I loved it.
Were you juggling the banking thing that whole time?
I was, yeah.
Wow.
I know. It was hard. That's at that point I was 3 or 4 years in. Full-time, 40 hours a week banking. I would do evenings and weekends with the modeling workshop program. So it was a lot. And a lot of my modeling gigs were, I would take time off of work like I do now. But mind you, back then when I started in baking, I only had like 10 days off a year. So it was very low. So I used that time. I called out sick sometimes to do different gigs. Those banks are long gone. So if you see this, what are you going to do? Fire me?
Right.
But I've used it to my advantage to get as much opportunity as I could in the entertainment business while juggling a full-time career. Yeah.
Yeah. I applaud the motivation. That's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. It's a grind, I'll tell you.
Yeah. I've worked hard in my life and sometimes 2 jobs, but I've never pursued a dream at the same time as full-time employment. So that's pretty awesome. It's commendable.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you did a bunch of crime shows with reenactments. Yeah. Any particular ones come to mind?
First one I did was called For My Man. I don't know if they still film that show, but For My Man was on Oxygen Channel.
Okay.
And coincidentally, a lot of these TV reenactment crime series shows film in East Coast. So I don't know if you know that, but Maryland is a hot spot for those filming segments. And I was surprised. I was right there in Baltimore area, and I'm like, this is perfect. So I didn't have to travel far. But For My Man, I did Snapped. There was an ID channel one, which is one of my favorites. What was that called? I think it's called What Really Happened.
Okay.
And there was one that filmed here and apparently only aired in Germany. So I got a copy of the episode, but the entire episode is in German.
Right.
But I wasn't speaking in it. I was only reenacting, so it's fine. It had English subtitles. But I'm glad they sent me a copy of the footage to use for my reel because, had I not done that, I wouldn't have gotten that footage. But I think ID Channel and Oxygen were the two biggest networks for two of the shows I did. And I did that for maybe a total of 4 or 5 years. The last one I just did last year for a show that was on CW network. My gosh, I'm blanking on the name of it. But the part that I had in it was unfortunately not what I expected. I was playing the part, two roles. Okay. I was playing one of the girls who got murdered, her brother.
Okay.
And I was playing an FBI agent. Well, for the brother part, you only saw the back of my head, which I guess is fine. Ooh, I made it. You didn't know who I was. You saw the back of my head. And then for the FBI agent, you only saw my hands. That could have been anybody.
Wow.
I know. So I'm like signing the contract, all excited. Like, yeah, you're going to be showing the episode. Okay. So anyways, that was a bit of a bummer. But that one I just did January of last year. I mean, it made it out, and you can see the back of my head and my hands. So if anything,
okay,
I'll do some jazz hands maybe.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Put that in your reel.
Yeah, exactly right. Do you believe it's me?
Yeah, look at my hands.
They're very soft and luxurious. But you know what's funny is like I love doing crime reenactment series, but I mean it's not the best, but it's fun and it's good to get your credits from doing that because you get some really good credits, even though you're not having speaking roles. Really good credits. So again, I did about 5 of them in total. I feel like I'm done with them now. Even though I did one last year and I said the same thing years ago, I'm finished with crime reenactment. Here I am in 2024 doing it again. Yeah. I may do it again in the future if it presents a more, fully featured opportunity like my other ones did.
Right.
But I'm at the point now where I've had lead roles in movies. So I'm kind of like, that's kind of a stepping stone position to be in compared to where I am now. And I'm trying to say that humbly. I'm not trying to say like I'm tooting my own horn because I don't like to do that. I'm very modest. But yeah, that was for me. That was more of a stepping stone to get myself into the industry, get some credits, and work my way up. But that is how I started after modeling. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So it does feel like a progression. Like you got into bigger and better things, and or maybe just different things.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe your work in the independent film industry can help bounce you back into television and something that's a bigger opportunity. You never know.
I would love that. Yeah,
the right person might see it.
That's the goal. Any hole is a goal. I don't know if
ain't that the truth? Not to bring the mood down a little bit, but I did see an episode of Finding My Father, season 1.
Oh, did you?
Episode 5, yeah.
Yeah.
I had heard you talk about it, and I think the version that I saw was a little cut up, but I mean, I did find it to be a compelling story, and I can understand why a person would want to go through that, given the circumstances. Would you consider that to have been a positive experience for you?
Very bittersweet.
Right.
Yes. For me, it was a great experience because I had never known about my biological father until not even a year before I filmed the show. I had just found out. So I had so many questions and so many I needed to know about my background, what's the health situation, like I had no idea. If you can imagine, by that point I was 26 years old, and I, by all means, I don't want to discredit my family. So my dad, who's raised me, is my father, who I call my father because he's my father since I was born. He's the one that signed my birth certificate. My biological father was never in my life. So, having the chance to meet him, ask questions, and kind of really lift a weight more off of his shoulders because he knew about me for my entire life. Right. I did not know about him for more than a year. So I could literally see that burden like lifting off his shoulders. But while it was a bittersweet roller coaster of an emotional experience I'll never forget, I feel kind of bad because my family wasn't happy with my choice in doing it. and I'm very close with my sisters, like we're best friends, and I feel like I let them down, and I didn't want them to think that I was wanting to find my biological father because I was mad at my family for keeping it a secret my whole life.
Yeah.
I wasn't mad. I wasn't mad at all.
Right.
I felt like I deserved to know.
Yeah.
I'm in this situation. It's me. It's not anybody else. So they don't really understand. So I just wanted that chance to be able to meet him. And, I had a conversation with my other father, who I call my dad, about it. And, I told him, like, you're always going to be my dad. I love you. I don't think that this is anything else. When I signed on for this opportunity back in, I think it was 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
When I did that show, I did it for a couple of reasons. I really, honestly did not think I was going to get casted. I submitted for it because I was like, oh my gosh, this is my chance to be on reality TV. I was being very selfish.
Yeah.
At the time, I was like, I don't know this guy. Like, he doesn't really know me. I don't know him. So who cares? That's how I felt back then. I just wanted a chance to be on TV. So I submitted for it. I got it. And then it hit me like a train. And I was like, oh, I'm actually going to be doing this? Oh, crap. Right. So preparing for it and doing the actual journey was so emotional. And I told myself, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. I cried like every day we filmed for, I think it was like 10 days straight. I cried every single day. I couldn't help it. I couldn't. Yeah. It was an emotional experience. And the producers were playing me like a puppet, trying to take advantage of different situations. And that made it worse.
Great.
Yeah. That made it worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if anyone's interested in seeing it, it's still available out there. Actually, I just found out it's on Amazon Prime.
Oh, is it?
I didn't even know. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can find it on Amazon Prime. You can find it on YouTube TV. I think they have it on.
Yeah.
And they have it for free if you go to a website called dailymotion.com and you search for Finding My Father on there. It's episode 5. So it's still out there, and if anyone wants to see it, I just recommend you bring some tissues because it is quite a tearjerker for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it was compelling, and it did seem like a very heavy situation, and I'm glad that it turned out to be a positive experience. It sounds like for both of you, honestly, give him a little bit of relief for probably all the guilt that he felt. Not that I know for a fact, but I'm just projecting that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, though.
Yeah, and hopefully the rest of your family has come to terms with it and they're okay with it now. Like that it was something that you needed to do, just to, I mean, because if you didn't, you'd always wonder, well, why didn't I, what was he like?
Exactly.
It's,
I would have regretted it if I didn't do it.
I couldn't blame you for making that decision.
Yeah. And honestly, after the fact, I tried to stay in connection with my biological father for up to a year after filming. Mm-hmm. When the episode aired, we reconnected, and it lasted for a little bit of a good time. I would say maybe a couple months into a year, but unfortunately, like my mom warned me, back when she was with him and she knows him very well, he was looking for opportunities to get money wherever he could find money. He was homeless for a while. He was jumping around between people's couches, literally. So she was like, just be mindful, Justin, that you don't want him to use you for an opportunity. And I was like, absolutely, I hear you. If I feel it, don't worry. I'm not going to let anybody take advantage of me. I don't care who you are. So we got to the point where, he did start asking me for money to pay some bills. And then the person he was living with was in the process of kicking him out. So he was like, I think you need to let him live with you. You're his real son. He just met you. And I'm like, sir, pull it back. Yeah. Like, slow your roll. Anyways, my dad ended up in jail for about 9 months to a year. And unfortunately, shortly after that, he ended up committing suicide.
Oh, that's hard.
It was, he wasn't in a good space. After meeting me, it brought him up a little bit in spirit, as you can imagine. but I really think that he thought it was going to go somewhere else than I saw it going. I didn't want to move him out of my life completely. Like, we can be friends, we can be cordial, but I'm not going to consider you my dad because you didn't raise me for all my life. And he understood that, but I think that kind of hurt him a little bit. And I started noticing he was getting back into his old habits of drinking and doing drugs.
Yeah.
He relapsed and it down spiraled very badly.
Yeah. Well, at least you had those moments of clarity.
Sad to say, but I'm glad that I have the footage to always go back to and watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the memories will be there. It was a very pivotal point in my life. I got a lot of questions answered, found out things that I never knew about myself, him, my family. So it really was an eye opener. I really needed that. So it was something I don't regret doing.
Yeah. No, and you shouldn't. Absolutely not. Well, sorry to drag you through that.
I'm an open book.
That's good. That's good. I appreciate. I'm getting that impression. Let me shift gears a little bit.
Sure.
I managed to, in my searches on YouTube, find a little short film. I believe it's called The First Date.
Yeah.
That's out there. It's only a few minutes long, but I actually kind of enjoyed it. You got to do your best impression of a really bad first date who's very, very selfish and doesn't listen and has some very horrible opinions about women. And you just happen to be sitting across the table from a woman who wasn't willing to take that.
Really?
What?
You're flirting with the woman at the next table. I find that really disrespectful.
And
a very beautiful woman who I shouldn't have been acting like that towards, but yes, that was a lot of fun. Yasmin Kuda is the one who played the female actress in that scene, who also was in Shriek Show with me.
Yes.
She was there, and by that point we had been friends for, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years, because we also were in Mountaineer. That's how we first met, on set of Mountaineer, then Shriek Show, and then I did this short with her. I primarily did it for my acting reel to get footage, and it turned out to be really good. I mean, we had good vibes anyway. We already knew each other, so it was really easy to act with her. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoy playing a jerk. I do. I enjoy it because I'm such a loving person in real life. When I can not be that and be somebody completely different, it's so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard that. I've heard that that's a pretty common trend amongst actors. They love the freedom to play the thing that they aren't in real life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to do that all the time if I could. Seriously.
I can't blame you at all.
Maybe I'll go to work tomorrow and just be a jerk to everybody. Let's see how that works.
And when they complain about it, you just go, acting.
Have I hurt you? Don't be silly. Acting! Brilliant! Thank you! Thank you!
Yeah, and cut. Yeah,
that's cool. So, I know that you said you did the Mountaineer and Shriek Show, and that was your general introduction into indie movies. But what was really the thing that put you in indie films? Was it something you actively pursued, or just a chain of events gave you an opportunity? You're like, you know what, let's try that.
I really feel like it's the latter. It's option B. I wanted to do it. I wanted to do film regardless, and I felt like, for me, being that I wasn't SAG certified, I wasn't a part of the union, I was offered to be, and I was for about 6 months. But the problem is, when you're a union actor, it's a lot of commitment, it's expensive. And when you have agents, who I've had 3 agents over the last 10 years, if you can't commit because you have a full-time job and engagement, then they're going to cut you off of their list. So unfortunately, there was a lot of lost opportunities because they wanted me the next day to go to New York or go to LA. And I'm like, That's great, but I need a couple days to give my job a heads up. I can't just not show up for work. And sometimes I would utilize sick time to do something if it was a good opportunity last minute, but I can't always do that. So it was hard. So I went back to being non-union, and I thought, well, if I'm going to do film, non-union film, typically the range of time to do a film will be anywhere between 7 to 15 days on average. And it's kind of split up. It can be segmented all together. It can be broken out over the course of 3 months. But regardless, you're usually not filming for more than 15 days. If you have to do a couple of retakes or shots of different scenes, you may have maybe 2 or 3 more days to add into it. But overall, it's more reasonable time off. And they tend to be flexible to utilize weekends, which I don't work weekends, so that's great. So indie was where it was for me. It just offered a lot more flexibility. I can live my life, make my money in my career, but also do acting side by side, in my mind, equally, and be able to accomplish both goals. So that's kind of where I stayed non-union and more in this field of indie. Brad Twigg, the director and producer at Fuzzy Monkey, honestly, he's almost like a brother to me now. I feel like I'm part of the family with him. He's given me so many opportunities. And for that reason, it's continued to open more doors. And I don't think I would have been able to do that without Brad. So I'm very thankful for that. I mean, most of my films at this point, a good majority of them are a Fuzzy Monkey film production under Brad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got that impression. I've seen a few of them.
Yes.
I did want to talk a little bit about Killer Camp Out too. You played a character named Will. I love this movie, by the way. I've seen the first one and the second one, and this is one of those cases where I feel like the second movie outshines the first one.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. It had so much more. It was so over the top. I mean, we had everything from, resurrections to what seemed like demon possessions to therapy sessions.
That's right.
lesbian love affairs. We had it all in this.
Yeah. You name it. People having sex left and right, people fighting, therapy at the end of the day. Yeah.
And a little bit of bathroom humor,
Yeah, that was fun. That was good.
So I thought your character was great. You were kind of part camp counselor, part therapist for wayward teens.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love the setup, and I love the metaphor of being reborn out of the womb, which was just the tent they were camping in every night. This oh my God, I don't know how to describe it. It felt like not like a TED talk, just come to life. You know what I mean? But like it was like reprogramming almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was a mechanic of just the script writer, but I felt you embodied that character. Like it felt like I've worked in sales for a long time, so it feels like that corporate guy who's been waving the company banner for so long that he eats, sleeps, and breathes the company buzzwords and the policies, and he knows your mission statement by heart, and that's all he spews out at you because he truly believes it now.
Right. And that's almost how I am at my real job. So
okay.
Honestly, mission, vision, values, every meeting. I mean, literally.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I put a little bit of me into that role to really give that, because I will tell you, and you saw it, so those moments for Will, my character, in the therapy sessions, around the campfire, just talking to the group of participants, because I don't know if they were supposed to be teenagers or young adults. I don't quite understand, but supposedly they're supposed to be teen/young adults.
Right.
But anyway, it was a monologue. Every moment that we had as a group, it was on the script. It was like an entire page, just Will all the way down. I'm like, oh my God, I have to study all of this without a beat, without a breath in between. No one's talking in between me.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a long, lengthy conversation that I had each of those scenes, but it was really. I think it was really good. I think it turned out pretty well. Memorizing it was pretty tricky, but that's just a part of the job, honestly. But I tried my best to make it as genuine as possible so that it felt like it was coming. It was a little bit, I don't know, it was a little bit cliche, but also I tried to make it seem like I gave a crap about these kids,
Mm-hmm.
even though probably I didn't at the end of the day. So, I tried to make sure I showed that throughout the film without giving too much away, which,
Right.
as you've seen towards the end, the big twist was just like, where the heck did that come from?
Right.
Like, unexpected. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That movie is definitely more than what you're expecting, and in some ways more than what you're looking for. But
Yeah.
none of it was like unwanted. Once I got it, I was like, holy crap, they did that. That's awesome.
That's great to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an excellent story, and I don't think I'll ever stop singing its praises unless, of course, he does a part 3 and it's even better. So
we'll see if there's a to be continued. You never know.
You never know. They did kind of leave it where it could have. I think.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. The funny thing about, I actually have that. I have a couple DVDs here, but I have that one too. So the funny thing about Killer Camp Out 2, the ending of that film was the scene that you saw like in, well, it was actually a big barn, but I don't know if you would have noticed it was a barn, but that moment on that set was not how it was written in the script. We actually changed the entire dynamic of that scene in the moment of filming it.
Okay.
Because of some conflicts that were happening on set with one of the other actors that was no longer able to participate. So, as many actors know, and some who aren't actors, this as well, in the industry, you don't film in order of the script. You film all over the place. You can film the ending scene first, your first day on set. So it is kind of a mix and mingle. By that point in time, we hadn't finished all the scenes we needed with this particular actor, and they were no longer in the film participating with us. Okay. So with that said, we had to switch up the entire ending to work in our favor. And honestly, I'm excited and so happy for how it ended, because had it not had ended the way it did, you would not have seen Will as much as you saw him.
Okay.
I'll say that. So for me, to my benefit, it worked out really good.
Ah, okay. I think I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And had you not told me that, I'd have never known. Like the film feels very clean. The ending feels like it was intended that way. So
that's good.
The fact that you did it spur of the moment and had to on the fly come up with a new way to end this film is kind of surprising to me. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Challenging. I don't know if I want to say fun, but it turned out great. Let's just say that. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah. Another banger is Crackoon.
Oh, yes.
I just watched that again last night.
Yes, did you?
Yeah.
What do you think about Crackoon? Honest opinion. What do you think about it?
I think it's great. I love animal attack movies.
Me too.
And I totally ate up Cocaine Bear. And usually, and I know that kind of started this whole trend thing with drugged up animals killing people, but it's not the first time it ever happened. But I really like bad ones. And this one was bad on purpose.
Yeah.
And that's part of its charm to me.
Yeah.
Everything from the storyline was very fun. I mean, a designer drug getting tossed out a car window and a raccoon eats it and goes on a killing rampage. I mean, how is that not fun?
Yeah, exactly.
The mechanics of it, the puppet looked great. And I laughed out loud every time it got launched onto somebody's back. and or
Literally tossed
like
from one person.
yeah, or
Yes.
fell through a window or
Oh
something
my
like
God.
that. I'm like, oh my god, here it is again.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Um,
is. And it's made for those who have a sense of humor, who don't take things seriously. Because
mhm.
if you are that type of person, you don't want to see this movie. Like, full honesty, full transparency. You have to go in with an open mind. It's very campy, goofy. I always compared it to like the Muppets on Crack meets like the Scary Movie series with Anna Faris.
Yeah,
It's just puns left and right. Everyone's having a good time. It's as much of a comedy as horror or slasher, if you will. Well, not slasher, but gory.
yeah.
But I consider it more to be like a comedy movie. I'm not gonna lie. I
Oh
know
yeah.
it's in the horror genre, but I think it's more comedy. I do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it went hard with the effects, and everybody like legit, screamed their heads off as they were dying. So I mean, like you did get that horror element, but it is, as you say, it was pretty seriously a comedy.
Yeah.
Um, and I actually have to make a quick retraction. I screwed up when I was talking to Melissa.
Oh.
I thought that she had one of those scenes where like one of those drug scenes where she got killed, and
Oh.
then I realized I mixed her up with Wisteria Shaw. I was like, oh,
Wisteria. Okay. Yeah.
oops.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. I know you're not the same person. And I hadn't watched it again before I talked to her, and this last watch yesterday, I realized what I had done. It's like, uh-oh.
Oh.
So,
But at
but you
least
were,
she was in the movie, so that makes
yeah,
a difference. Imagine
yeah,
if she wasn't even in it, and she's like, "Well,
yeah. She was a
yeah,
fantastic corpse.
she was." If anybody could play a corpse, it's Melissa. Yeah. Great job to her, and she did a really good job.
Yeah,
I was even
absolutely.
watching her stomach to see if I could see her breathing. Like, I was checking, because that's
Yeah.
a very hard part in acting. I've had scenes where I was dead in different movies or different shots,
Hmm.
or laying there and holding your breath when you're doing multiple takes for like 10, 15 minutes at a time, and you're like trying to figure out how do you not die, it's very hard. So now when I see anybody in a scene where they're dead or they're playing dead, whatever, I'm always looking at their chest to see if it moves. Always.
Yeah, yeah. I hear
Yeah.
you. I hear you. Yeah, I told her that I find that impressive because, well, I mean, I just before I talked to her, I just got done doing a movie review of like the autopsy of Jane Doe.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's like the two things lined up. I'm like, it's very impressive, to look at that and be like, did they just put a doll in the scene? No, that's a person. Like almost the whole time you're looking at it, it's a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't believe she didn't crack up laughing listening to those two guys, playing
Oh,
coroners.
I am sure she did. I didn't see any of like the bloopers or behind the scenes for that scene, but I
Yeah.
am sure there were moments that she had to have, because I would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely would have. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, some of the highlights of the movie where I laughed the hardest were probably the scenes that you had with Chris O'Braki.
Oh, yes.
Every time you guys were on screen together, I was laughing. So if
Yeah.
if you're calling him a whore or
Yeah.
getting pulled over by the cops,
Yes.
that
Chaos. I mean,
yeah,
when you have two extremely gay guys together who's just flamboyant, over the top dramatics left and right, you're
yeah,
gonna have a good time.
yeah,
You're gonna have a good time watching it. So yeah, I think me and Chris, and we're good friends. So for us, it was like seamless. It was so easy.
yeah,
And both of us are really gay. So we're like, oh, this is gonna be fun. Let's really hone into it. I mean, we're not by any means flamboyant at all,
yeah,
but
yeah.
we really leaned into it, had a
Uh-huh.
great time. I loved it. I mean, it was just a lot of those moments, and I say this in every interview I've had for Raccoon, but a lot of Raccoon, at least Frankie, my character, the scenes that I was in, I typically added a lot to it. So a lot of it was improv.
Okay.
I made sure to get everything that was in the script, but I added more to it because I
Okay.
felt like if I'm going to make it and go all the way with this role and just knock it out the park with Frankie, I'm going to need to add a little bit more spice to it and flavor. So a lot of the puns and one-liners that were just like so stupid and funny were a combination between myself and Brad Twigg in the moment
Yeah.
before another take. let's do this. And we would do another take, and that's the one that landed. So I love the fact that he put a lot of those one-liners in almost every scene that Frankie's in. It worked out really well. And that police chase scene, well, not chase, but where we got pulled over by the police, that was my favorite scene of the whole movie. My favorite scene, the funnest to act out with the cops. One cop who's very much macho cop, serious, strict. One who's you would think is like that, but then he ends up being like, "Oh my gosh, it's so cool! Like you guys are like, it's so unexpected," and it just the scene was hilarious. Oh my, like so much fun, so much fun.
I can see that. And I'm glad you got to explore the character so much. I'm very, very happy to find out how much was improv. I was gonna ask that. I think I already talked about it before. So it's starting to seem to me like Frankie might be a recurring character. I'm seeing teasers for other projects.
Yes.
Like Crocodile or Crack Squatch. I don't.
Yes. So it's definitely not the end of Frankie.
Okay.
Not to spoil too much for those who haven't seen the movie, but it's been out since October, so I'm not going to hold it any longer. It's there. Definitely not the end for Frankie or for Finn. The dynamic duo is coming back. Things have changed a little bit with the plans for production. I do think Brad Twigg wants it to be a trilogy of a series, but Crocodile is not going to be Crocodile at this time, at least as of right now. Today, it's not going to be Crocodile. We are planning for a sequel to Crackoon titled Crackoons, plural. So almost like Aliens. So it's going to be very much like that. Not the theme of the movie, but it's very much that concept. So it's just a sequel to it with a crap ton more of cracked out raccoons than just one. So
that's awesome.
I'm hoping to see baby raccoons. I hope they make a baby puppet one that gets on crack. I really hope so. I mean, it is what it is. The large male ones, I don't even know if it was a male or female, whatever type this puppet was in the first one is great, but I want to see a family of them. I want to see two together with a baby or like a tween one. I really want to see that. Because that would be great to see the baby one attack somebody and just eat them apart.
It would be. Oh,
wouldn't it?
There's so many avenues you could take that.
So many. But I'm really excited. I've already read the script that was supposed to be for Crocodile.
Okay.
So they're going to tweak it for the sequel to Crackoon. And I think they're going to keep a lot of it the same from what I hear. But it's definitely more chaotic than the first movie. If you can even possibly imagine it being more chaotic, it's going to be more chaotic. From what they're going to do for death scenes to the dynamic relationship that unfolds between Frankie and Finn, and how close they get in the second movie. It's just what you mentioned for me and Chris, who played Denny in Crackoon, our relationship. Imagine that times two with me and Finn, who's played by Rosaria Elsa. I love Rosaria. She's one of my favorite people to work with. So I can't wait. I was laughing the entire time when I was reading through the script and already thinking of, I got some puns for that line. I got something for her. So I'm really looking forward to it. And one thing I don't think I've mentioned to anybody during an interview, but I did mention to one of my good friends recently. A lot of people were asking me before, like, when I played the role of Frankie, how did I really get into character? Just being way over the top, dramatic, flamboyant gay drug dealer, right? Which doesn't even, you can't put that together in a sentence, but we did. And they're like, how did you channel it? What did you do? And honestly, like, a lot of people favor different actors that they look up to or mentors in what they're doing for the character development. The person that I go to in any comedic role that I've done is somebody that nobody's going to be able to think of or think that I would say, because it's going back to like the 50s and 60s and black and white television days. But a lot of my comedy and moments, like my expressions on my face, like one of the moments in the car scene with the cop when he's like leaning into the window, I'm like, like this, the expression on my face of like complete horror and over exaggeration. A lot of those I get from Lucille Ball. I love Lucy. I do. I love Lucy. I've always loved Lucille Ball. Since I was a child, I watched her show. I've seen every episode. I used to watch the Lucy show that was after I Love Lucy. I've seen every episode. I still watch it today because it runs on a couple different networks. And just the level of comedy that Lucy brought at that era, at that time in black and white television was not comparable to other actors or other shows on a level of comedy. I'm telling you, like, it's not comparable. She was just over the top hilarious. And it was from her expressions to her movements to her lines, the delivery of them. So I channeled that since I was young growing up. And I feel like I do that naturally in real life, and I'm just talking to somebody and just ends up being a funny conversation. A lot of things I do, it's just what I'm used to because I grew up with that. So I did put a lot of that into my role in Frankie and try to give it something that would make the people laugh. And hopefully it came off that way and people are able to enjoy the chaos that Frankie brings, because he is definitely something else, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, I definitely got the physical comedy. That's a really cool influence. I would have never guessed, but like I can totally see it now that you said it.
Oh, well, good. That's good to hear that, because otherwise you might think I'm just crazy and weird. But really, Lucille Ball? But I tell you, I love her to death. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to plug another thing that I know that you worked on. A little while back, I did an interview with Matt Anderson of Key 13 Films, and he was putting together a project at the time called These Things, which was like kind of like an alien invasion movie that centered around like the koosh balls of like the 90s, or at least that's what I called them. And what was that experience like?
We had a lot of fun on set. That was a good experience. That was my first film working with Matt. I have worked with Matt Anderson on a voiceover project for a comic book series that he's still putting together. So I was just a voice of a character in that. But this is my first film working with Matt. And actually at one of the creature feature conventions in Pennsylvania, I don't know if it was the one that was last year or the year before, but one of the two, when I was at the Fuzzy Monkey booth, Matt came up and we were talking about it and talking about potential roles. So after we left the convention and such, over the course of a couple of weeks or months, we started talking a little bit more about it. And I submitted for one of the roles in These Things. But I got a chance to work with some familiar faces, which is always nice because it makes it easier to collaborate and build the chemistry. So Kay Leahy is one of them who is in These Things. She actually played my girlfriend or love interest, if you will, in the movie. Hunter Redfern, love Hunter, great brother to me. Let's just call it a brother. He's more than a buddy. He also was in Crackoon. And that's the only two people I knew in the film working with on set for other films. So everyone else, like Christina, I always say her last name wrong. She's probably going to kill me. Santiago, I believe. But she,
that sounds right.
Yeah, I just call her Chris. So Chris was in this movie. She's from Buffalo, New York. Jordan Hunley is in this movie. My first time working with her. And also Tony is in this movie, and I think he was in Anna Key with Matt Anderson as well. So new faces and familiar faces, but we had a great time on set. Just like any production, when you have downtime, you try to build that relationship with your peers. And we really just had a lot of conversations going, a lot of moments where we were just cracking up, laughing nonstop. And there is one scene in the movie I don't want to talk too much about, because it's still under construction and edit right now, but we have like a poker scene, and a lot happens during that scene between all the characters. A little bit of implied nudity may happen here and there with one of our characters, and it's a lot of fun, but it's like a chaotic poker game that just goes left. And that was one of my favorite scenes where all of us were together in the movie, all of us filming at the same time. So that was really fun. I think I grew a really close bond with the entire cast. I would say Hunter and Christina primarily. I would say I grew a very close bond with after leaving set. Like we talk every day, almost nearly.
Yeah.
And I really am happy that I had a chance to do it, to work with Matt, but really to work with all these different actors that I haven't had experience with. So that was really fun. And we rented a big Airbnb for the production. So all the cast stayed together in an Airbnb house for like a week. And that was crazy. As you can imagine, we were just partying it up, having a good time.
Oh, sure.
We were up till like 2:00 in the morning, and then we would start filming like at 9:00 that morning, whatever. So we were exhausted, but we had so much fun in that house. Let me just tell you, it was like I was on the real world or something. Like, it really felt like I was just like in college again. I was like, ooh, not that we were like doing drugs or drinking, going crazy, but it was just that was our moment to unwind when we were not on set. So we took advantage of it, and we just had the best time making each other laugh, playing a lot of games. Like, we had fun. I miss it. I wish we can just rent an Airbnb and all of us just stay together for a week for the hell of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be cool. Yeah. Just, no work, all play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, seriously. I'm down for it.
Yeah. That would be great. We all need that.
Yeah, we do.
I do want to plug Heartbreaker. I know that campaign is still open. And unfortunately, Brad had a very heartbreaking thing happen with that. There was a bunch of footage that was shot for it that was lost, or deleted, or somehow mistakenly deleted. So that really sucks to get a setback like that. But it sounds like you guys are getting on top of it again, and gaining momentum for it. I've seen this teaser trailer. That's the only thing I've seen.
Okay.
And I know that you're some sort of orderly or something in there, sounding the alarm that the killer has escaped.
Yes.
So how deep are you into this project right now?
Well, to be honest with you, that was a very short scene for me. That was a very small role for me.
Okay.
Me and Chris O'Brockie were both in that scene together, but we weren't the original people casted for that scene. And when they did some reshoots, we got looped into it, and Brad had reached out to me and Chris and said, hey, would you guys be interested in partnering together again and playing these roles? And we're like, duh. Like,
of course.
We weren't like we were in Crackoon. We were completely different. We were street guys mostly. And, playing the part that we were supposed to play as being, like you mentioned, like orderlies in an institution. And it was really fun. And even though it was a very short moment in character, I think that we had a lot of comedic moments in that scene. And overall, I will say I'm interested in seeing the entire film because, to be honest with you, other than being on set for the day that I filmed that scene, I wasn't on set for the rest of the movie. So I don't know what all went into the rest of it. I know all the other actors in it. But I don't know what's going to happen. I'm actually sitting on the outside looking in because I have no idea. So I'm really interested in seeing how it plays out. And I don't want to give too much information because I don't know if Brad will get mad at me for this. But Heartbreaker ended up being, it wasn't originally Heartbreaker. It was actually supposed to be a sequel to a whole different film that was done years ago. It was supposed to be a part 2. Oh. But a lot of things changed within production like they do. And it ended up becoming a completely different movie, really. And they titled it Heartbreaker. And I think, personally, my thoughts are I'm happy that it did change just because I think it's going to be so much more and better than, personally, I feel like the other one would have been.
Yeah.
Not that I know much about it, but if the other one had to do with wrestling, more or less, which it did.
Okay.
I'm not a wrestling fan, to be honest with you. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, look at me.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be like much engaged into it. So this is a whole different storyline, and I'm hooked. So I really am looking forward to seeing it. But it is unfortunate what happened with the footage that it got lost essentially. And I don't really know what happened, but I know that does happen sometimes.
Yeah.
So they are in the process, if they haven't already, of reshooting different takes. Not all the footage was lost, but they're just reshooting the parts that need to be recaptured. So I'm thinking they're working on it as we speak. And if they're not already done, I would imagine it's going to be done very soon here, because we have 2 films coming up with Fuzzy Monkey that I'm a part of this year, and I don't think they're going to overlap them. So I'm sure it'll be done by April.
Okay.
Because come May, we're in our next film. Come May. So
Okay. That's great. I'm glad to hear that that things keep moving along, and there's more things coming. I've become a very big Fuzzy Monkey fan. Just about everything I've seen has been like great. I was even telling Melissa how much I loved Deathboard.
yeah.
And I feel like it got missed by a lot of people.
Yeah.
It was just a few years ago. You know what I mean? I was like, and I picked it up at a convention when I saw Melissa for the first time.
Nice.
And I watched it. I loved it so much. I made a friend of mine watch it, and then we did a review episode of it on my channel. It's
very nice. Yeah.
yeah. So
Awesome.
even if I could only get 10 more people to watch it, I feel like that's a win.
It is, and I know Brad appreciates it.
Yeah.
The Fuzzy Monkey film appreciates it, because you're right. I think a lot of the films kind of go under the radar. I think it's the same for Killer Camp Out 2. I really enjoyed Killer Camp Out 2 a lot. But even though it just came out like in November of 2024, I feel like Shriek Show did really well. And then I feel like Raccoon did really well. I think Raccoon did the best out of most of the films this last couple of years with Fuzzy Monkey, personally, just because of the way it got distributed and the audience it hit. But Killer Camp Out 2 is right in the middle. And even though it got released after Raccoon, I feel like it's kind of sliding under the radar, which is unfortunate, because it really was a good movie. And I'm hoping it doesn't lose traction. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. My favorite thing to say whenever I talk to somebody about Raccoon and they're like, yeah, I really need to see that, I like to say, it's on Prime.
Yeah.
I mean, which is a really great place for it to be. I feel like so many people are going to have the opportunity to see it because it's on such a widespread platform like that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. A lot of people don't know that it's out there on Prime. So, and if you have Amazon Prime, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
A lot of people have Amazon Prime. I know I do, at least. But so if you have that, you have Amazon Video right with it. So there's no reason to not see it. But yeah, we did really well. Raccoon was in the leading top 3 or top 4 when Screambox released it. And for those of you who don't know, Screambox also is the one who distributes all the Terrifier movies. I like the Terrifier movies. I'm a big fan of those.
Yeah.
So Terrifier 2, when it was streaming on Screambox recently, I don't know if it was 3 or 2. Now that I'm thinking about it, because 3 just came out in the theaters, but I don't know if it was streaming already on Screambox at that time too, back in October. It was either 2 or 3, but either way, Raccoon was trending between the number 1 and 3 spot over the course of the month, and it didn't lose traction, which is really good. I'm really excited for that. I think it just boosts it to a whole nother level compared to maybe some of the other productions, just because it did have a major distributor behind it, which obviously really does help it out a bit. But we've heard a lot of good reviews with Raccoon. Overall, always is going to be negativity. It's not everyone's gist. Not everyone's going to like it, and that's fine. But I think we have a lot more positive comments than negative comments, in my opinion. So that really does help. And I'm looking forward to the sequel that is coming later this year that we're going to start filming. So I got to get back in I'm not going to dye my hair again. I told Brad that really damaged my hair. I was like, I'm not doing blonde again.
Okay.
But I will wear whatever crazy outfit you want me to wear. If it's another romper onesie like I had on, But I told Brad if we're going, originally it was supposed to be Crocodile. I know it's not now. But
Yeah.
in my mind, for the character, when it was supposed to be Crocodile, I was all in to get like the Crocodile Dundee style, like vest and hat. Like I was about to go out in the jungle and start looking around for this crocodile.
Yeah,
I was ready. Can you imagine a super flamboyant guy being out there in like short shorts and
100%.
this big old hat, just dramatic hat, and just being like, ah. So it may be a different type of movie now, but I still want to give it the visual dramatics that it deserves for Frankie. I have to make sure it's 10 times better than the onesie that I had on the first one. I
could respect it.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, if you got a couple more minutes, I wanted to throw out just a couple of fun questions that I just started doing. I'm going to call it the lightning round. So I'll start out with what was the most challenging character you think you ever played?
It's a good question. I would say Killer Campout 2 was the most challenging because of the twists and turns that happened in my character that I've never done before.
Okay.
Gave a lot of range all in one movie of different emotions that I've never done at once.
That's cool. So a dynamic to the character that was difficult to navigate, I guess.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
Cool. What's the most fun you feel that you ever had on a set?
Definitely Raccoon.
Okay.
Well, I don't even know. Okay, so Raccoon for the filming and the production on set, 100%, because it was laughs every time I came on. My whole scene and delivery was always comedic. So a lot of fun with Raccoon. But offset, I think my most fun was Killer Campout 2. We actually had an Airbnb rented as well, and we had a great time in that Airbnb. I taught some of the girls how to twerk because I'm a really good twerker.
I've heard this. I haven't checked out the special features yet, but I hear it's on there.
It's on the DVD, special features. Yes, I teach a lesson how to twerk, which is really fun. So, but we did a lot of twerking. The house was shaking left and right off the ground. And one of the funnest things, though, was we reenacted a scene from Friends, which is another favorite show of mine. And it's the scene where they're holding the couch and yelling, "Pivot, pivot!"
Yes! Oh, here we go. Pivot! Pivot! Pivot!
So we reenacted that scene by lifting the couch that was in the living room up the flight of steps in the Airbnb. And we were just doing the entire scene with Ross, Rachel, and Chandler. And Melissa was there. Melissa was watching us from the one of the other couches, and she was like, "You guys," she was playing like our mom almost, which I love Melissa, but she wanted to make sure we didn't get hurt and we didn't ruin the furniture and we have to cause Brad to pay a bill. So she was like momager on set, like, guys, just don't do anything crazy. So she's watching us like very, very heavily from behind the scenes doing our little reenactment. But that whole time of filming, staying together, outside of filming was so much fun. Like we built some serious bonds. So I would say Killer Campout 2 more or less, Raccoon more or less for on set.
I got you.
Yeah.
That's cool. So given the experiences that you've had so far and possible ambitions for the future, do you have a dream role that you'd like to play someday?
Oh, I've never been asked that question.
Really?
Do I have a dream role? I don't know about a specific role, but I will tell you I really want to play in a serious drama. Like no comedy mixed into it. I want a full up drama. I want to test my abilities of being able to cry on cue. I want to, which I don't even know if I could do, and I don't think I've been able to do it before on film, but I really want to get into the character of this being something that's like extremely emotional and heartfelt. I have never done something like that before. So I want to do that. Unless you consider Finding My Father a film, which then I cried like a baby. But that was the only thing I've ever done that was like so emotional and drama. So I really want to do a role like that. I think that would put myself out of my comfort zone a little bit, but I think I need that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you get the opportunity to do that someday.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Do you have any upcoming appearances that you'd like to plug?
Upcoming films that are happening, as I mentioned earlier. So Crackoons, the sequel, will be happening this year, but we haven't filmed it yet.
Okay.
Also, we are working on filming this spring, T-Rexorcist, which yes, T-Rexorcist. As crazy as Crackoon sounds, imagine T-Rexorcist. That's also filming in the spring. So that's 2 more films coming up. My last film done was actually Crackoon that just came out in October. So I'm in this breathing gap right now. I have a lot of auditions out there waiting to hear back from some different directors on different roles. These Things from Matt Anderson is almost finished with production. So I believe that will be out this year from what I heard from Matt. So that'll be coming out this year. And then hopefully the other 2 from Brad Twigg will be out at some point late this year to 2026.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm not giving up. I want to do more. I'm still actively submitting auditions. I've been doing a lot of applications for reality shows right now.
Okay.
Which I thought that era was done, but I feel like I'm not done yet with that because I'm quite a character and personality. I think I just, God damn it. I'm sorry about the cuss, but I just want to be on TV. I feel like I'd be a good personality. I'm good with making people laugh, and I'm good with effing somebody up. I'll throw a punch. No problem. So anyway. That's
right. Mix it up.
Mix it up. Yeah, cause drama. So I want to stir that pot. But anyways, yeah, a lot in store for film and hopefully something else in the near future. You never know.
Okay. Great. Well, if it happens, I'll be sure to tune in for whatever reality series this is.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the best way for people to stay up to date with what you got going on? Is it following you on social media?
I'd say social media primarily. I do have an IMDb account, but I don't have everything updated on there. I'm still trying to work on getting some things plugged to it. That'll be under Justin P. Martin as well. I think I'm under like number 2 of Justin Martin on IMDb because there's the number 1 that's out there. Anyways, the best way, is through Facebook or Instagram. I don't use Twitter actively, and I don't even have a Snapchat. So Facebook, I'm under Justin Martin. I do have a middle name in there, which was my modeling coach name that my kids gave me of Ken Doll. They always call me Ken Doll Barbie. So I'm like, all right. So Justin Ken Doll Martin on Facebook. And then on Instagram, it's Kendall_JP.
Okay.
That's how I would stay in contact. I do post more actively on Facebook, but between both channels, I will have updates as more comes out, and I look forward to it. I really hope to. I'm going to put some more scenes up soon from Killer Camp Out and Crackoon. I have all the clips. I just haven't released them yet because I was waiting for it to get some traction. They just came out months ago. So now I feel like it's time. Everyone who's going to see it has probably mostly seen it now. So now it's time to start posting some clips. So.
Fantastic. And I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and spending some time with me and entertaining my silly questions. Hope I didn't keep you too long.
No, it's perfect. I like it. I talk a lot, so sometimes you got to tell me to just shut the whole stream down if you need to.
No, it's okay.
I'll be like, hello, what's next? Yeah.
I feel like we got a lot of good stuff in this. So I just want to say on my way out of here, you don't need a big budget to make a badass movie. And cut!